Okay, hello everybody. There they are, gorgeous people. Awesome. Let me just change the view of the screen a little bit and then we'll get going with the show today. So I just want to make sure, Natasha and Gamal, that people can see you properly and not on a tiny little screen. So here we go. We're all good and ready to go. I'm going to do a proper introduction first and then I'm going to give the stage to you. We can talk a little bit about your amazing exit journey. So let me get started first. Welcome, everybody, to the Master Your Exit live show powered by The Big Exit. I'm Lynn. I'll be your host for today. And on this Master Your Exit live show, we bring practical insights, expert interviews, and tools to help small business owners like you prepare for your big exit. This live show airs every Tuesday at 7 a.m. in Los Angeles, 10 a.m. in New York, 3 p.m. in London time, and we keep each show short and simple, about 30 minutes maximum. Now, if you're tuning in on our YouTube channel or on our LinkedIn channel, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you joined us here live in the virtual studio, and that's really cool too, you can send in your exit related questions or questions that you might have for Natasha and Gamal later on the show. You can send them in via the chat and we'll be able or we'll try to answer them live during this show. And if you're catching this later, you can find more of the episodes of this show on our website, thebigexit.co/master your exit shows, or you can listen to the audio version on your favorite podcast platform. And that's my introduction for now because I have two amazing guests with me that I would love to introduce to you as well. Because today we are joined by Gamal and Natasha Kodner. They're a husband and wife team who scaled and successfully exited their business called Fresh Heritage, a seven-figure men's grooming brand that they sold to a $250 million a year global conglomerate. I want to know all about how that happened. Now, together, they also co-founded Codner & Co., where they help high achieving performers to scale with clarity, exit with confidence, and acquire profitable businesses that create freedom. Now, Gamal is an entrepreneur and an investor with over $50 million raised and $50 million plus in business transactions. His insights have been featured in Forbes, in Amazon, and Built to Sell Radio, which is an epic show, by the way. If you're not listening to that yet, just go ahead and do so. And when he's not advising founders, he's a proud girl dad that is doing tummy time with his baby. Oh, and riding bikes with his preschooler. And Natasha is a heart-led strategist, which I absolutely love about her, performance coach, and mom of two who has guided over more than 100 entrepreneurs through clarity, mindset shifts, and systems that sustain. With a seven-figure exit and $57 million plus in client growth, her work has been featured in Forbes and supported by brands like Shopify and Amazon as well. And together they bring a rare mix of strategy, execution, and heart, which is so important when you're growing, scaling, and exiting a business. And today they will talk to us about the scenes of building, scaling, acquiring, and successfully exiting businesses as a family. Welcome to the show, Natasha and Gamal. It's such an honor to basically have you, both of you, on the show as well. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much
Thanks
for
for having
having
us.
us, Lynn.
I, be-
Amazing.
I believe
When I
this
did
is
the
our first podcast together,
Together.
right? We're usually doing our own thing.
which is amazing. It's just so, I mean, I love having a conversation, as you know, like a husband and wife, business builders, exiting your Fresh Heritage brand together as well. That whole journey of transitioning from, like the entrepreneurial hustle and bustle lifestyle towards that family focused lifestyle as well. So there's just so much that I think we can unpack together. So it's great to have you, both of you, on the show
100%.
today.
Thank you for
Now,
having
I'd love to kind of take us back a little bit in time, where you were still running Fresh Heritage. You know, the hustle and the bustle, and all of these things, and just take us back a little bit to that moment where the idea of exiting or selling that business first came to mind. Like, where did that idea come from? Because you were in the midst of growing this thing, it was booming like crazy. Where did that idea of selling or exiting then comes from?
you want to start?
Sure. So this is gonna sound funny, but we knew we wanted to sell before we started the business. And so
Gotcha.
my prior experience was working with a family office, a mentor of mine who has now built and sold about almost $3 billion in transactions. At the time I met him, he sold the company for like $600 million. And so I got exposed to the world of acquisitions, just acquiring, building, and selling. And I did that for a while and I wanted to do it on my own. And so we created a one-page business plan to try to sell the business within 3 to 5 years. And so that was a plan from the start. But while we were in it, it was going so well. We did have second thoughts and second guess ourselves on, hey, should we hang on to this a little bit longer or should we stick to the plan we originally made?
Do you think you've built the business differently because that was the main focus from the beginning? Or do you feel like that didn't make a difference at all?
100%. I think that there's a big difference between growing revenue and growing enterprise value or a valuable business. And so because that was our North Star of getting to that point, when opportunities came up that were like a quick win, but in the long term may have hurt us, we avoided it. For example, there were opportunities for us to like be more front facing in the brand and to do more things to get more engagement on social, but we realized how that could negatively impact how transferable we were for other people. So we took a short-term loss to be able to build the value of our business a little bit better.
There's already so much I want to talk about in just these couple of sentences that you were saying, because most small business owners that are in my space, they never realize that there is a difference between growing revenue and growing a transferable business and growing enterprise value. And those things are very, very differently. Natasha, I'm quite curious, how was that for you? Because I mean, Gamal came from that world of like,
Yeah.
what makes a business valuable and what makes a business want to be acquired or can be acquired. Was that your background too, or
Uh,
did you came from
no.
somewhere like totally different?
So I was a healthcare executive for about 10 years. Gamal and his brother actually founded the business together. They saw a gap in the market where there wasn't a lot of male grooming products for men of color. And so they decided to join forces and start it together. And I was still in corporate at that time. So I was pretty much in business development. I project managed the work of about 140 employees. So I understood, um, like team development. I understood, building systems and keeping things organized. So what I did when I joined over was just transfer my skill sets, over onto the business. In our first year, I know when Gamal and I first started talking about working together, the business wasn't doing so well at that point. And I took a break from work because I had a health scare at that point. And during that break, I decided, it was best for me to pivot and do something different. And I decided to join the team as the COO. And so what we realized was in the first year, we were able to 5X the business together as a team because Gamal was able to focus his skill sets on like marketing and pushing those things forward. He's a great visionary. He knew what he wanted and how he wanted to grow and develop the business for scale and exit. And I worked on like, the warehouse, the team, making sure the systems were in place. And so we kind of joined forces that way. And so I had to learn a lot about e-commerce. I knew nothing about e-commerce. and then just apply the tools and the skill sets that I had within the business for us to be able to grow and scale.
Sounds
That
like a
was
dream team.
Yeah, it was good because, at a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, we're just so focused on growth, driving revenue, ad performance, scaling top line. And then that only gets you so far because then you have to deliver, then you have to create product, then you have to manage a growing team that's growing with the business. And so the type of business that we were in, it had leverage in the sense that, you can sell one to many online, but it was very people intensive in the warehouse and capital intensive with keeping inventory in stock. And that was my brain just didn't function like that. And so it was great finding us who worked together. And my brother was in retail. He came from a background of like working for Coca-Cola and like retail. So he understood that. So this was the missing component of the business, being able to actually have systems, hire properly, have team meetings, delegate and like manage the operations and like the projects to keep up with the revenue growth.
Awesome, amazing. You've mentioned that the idea has always been to build this business to sell, yet at some point it starts to work really, really well. And then that kind of the idea to sell kind of moves to the background. Or when did it came back into your world where you were like, oh yeah, hold on, wait a minute. We actually built this to sell, but we kind of forgot about it a little bit because it's going so great. When did the idea move back into the world, into your heads, into your hearts, into the business? And why did that happen?
It was when we had our daughter,
Yeah.
and you'll hear the other one in the background, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I do, which is so cute.
But when we had our daughter, it was a very challenging pregnancy and birthing experience for us. And when we started our family, it was more like, okay, we need to slow down and we need to focus on family. You're like, what do we really want? Do we want to keep hustling and continue to grow the business the way that we're doing it because it was doing pretty well at that time, or do we want to slow down a little bit and just focus on us and our family? And so that's when he was like, I think it's time, I think we've done enough, and I think it's time for us to like talk to some people about starting the process. And I trust him. He's a great leader, and like I said, a great visionary. And so I was like, okay, this is your wheelhouse, the M&A stuff. So I'll, go with
How
that.
did the people in your environment kind of like reacted to that? I'm pretty sure you didn't share that much about the beginning of that exiting journey because it's often, quite secretive as well. But I can imagine like when you're at that process where things are going really well and you're thinking about selling, how much in the background in your head is it like, should we really do this? Like, why? Go ahead. Why would we do this? Things are going so great. Why should we not wait for another 3 years, and then maybe we can sell it for even three times as much? All these kinds of stories. Like, how did you handle that? Or was it a clear cut where you were like, it's family first and all of that stuff doesn't really matter?
Yeah, it was kind of twofold. There was a logical side to the answer and there was the emotional side of the answer.
Mm,
So I'll give you both. The logical side was that at that time, we recognized that in the market, multiples were at an all-time high. And so there were just many things happening. We sold in 2021. And so during that time was COVID. And COVID had taken over a decade to get to 16% of total retail sales. Within the first 6 months, it doubled to 32%. So we experienced in 6 months what previously took like 16 years. And so everyone was really going in and buying businesses in the space. So that was one point. We kind of started reflecting and saying, this is good money, but if we miss this opportunity, will we be happy or will we be upset? Like which one would hurt the most? The other thing
mm,
that businesses have inflection points where essentially you don't get you get multiple arbitrage at certain inflection points. Let's say like your business is doing 100,000 in revenue in profit and then maybe a million in profit, then maybe 5 million. And what that means is essentially if your business is doing 100K or 400K in profit, you're pretty much going to get the same multiple range until you get up
Mm,
500,000 to 900,000. And we were within an inflection point where we thought, do we want to do the work that's required to get to the next inflection point with our new family? And the answer was no. And so, sensibly, it was at an all-time high in multiples. It would have taken years and effort and reinvest in our capital to get to the next inflection point. And it wasn't worth it to just work for 2 more years to work hard to be in the same multiple range. So that's the logical side. Thankfully, with my background, I kind of understood this kind of more black and white. So I had that benefit to think of it through that lens. And then, it's kind of like a trade-off. Our time, the extra time that we would have spent would not have necessarily amounted to much more in a payout. And so, but the emotional side was probably weighted even more so is that everyone thinks they have problems until you have a health problem, and then you realize nothing else matters. And our first daughter came into the world, uh, not the easiest, but she turned out fine. But it just required us to be present and away from the business. And it was just a moment to just remember what we're doing it for and why we're chasing freedom and the lifestyle and the sacrifices we made through business to be there for our family. And so we just took that time to just take the chips off the table. And, we took 6 months off in a sabbatical to just be with our daughter. And at the time, it takes a while to actually sell. So at the time it sold, we were able to I was able to experience my daughter taking her first steps and just to do some really cool things. We had a condo on the beach. We would wake up and be at the beach frequently. We would take bike rides on the beach. And so it was just an amazing time to just appreciate the blessings and the things that were available to us.
amazing. You were mentioning this. It was a question that also popped into my mind, like the time between the idea of selling, like the second time the idea came around of selling, and then actually, like it all being said and done. How long did that take? And did the deal require you to kind of stay on board afterwards or not? Like, tell us a little bit more about like time frame and any specific things related to the exit that might, require you to stay longer or something like that.
Yeah. So time frame. Um, we got serious about it in, let's say, the top of the year. So we've been kind of doing the things behind the scenes, making it transferable, making sure our books are in line, making sure we controlled our IP,
All
making sure
prep
the
work.
business, yep, making sure the business could generate revenue without us being involved. And we kind of got it stress test when my daughter came because we were pretty much gone for 3 weeks and the business still survived and did well. And so, at the start of the year, we started being intentional about it, reaching out to brokers, interviewing brokers, and then we selected Quiet Light Brokerage. They have a great online presence. They're one of the largest, if not top three, brokers of online businesses, and so we felt comfortable with them. And it took us about 60 days to get onboarded with them, create our CI, our SIM, and just to get our stuff together. From the time we hit the market, we had 200 NDAs signed to see our info in about 7 to 10 days. We had our first offers in 14 days, and we went under contract in like 3 weeks. And then from under contract to close in 28 days. So it was a very fast process
Fast. My
once we
goodness,
got
very
going.
fast. Yeah.
But and the reality is, we spent the prior 12 months, well, we spent the whole existence of the business putting things in place, and then really specifically the prior 9 to 12 months getting all of our ducks in order.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we had that experience, and we had advisors who were friends and business associates who were able to like stress test the business and really help us focus on the things that we needed to improve to multiply the value or maximize the valuation and to move through the process fast.
Now you look at this experience I can see from a very strategic point of view, which is amazing because there are not that many, can I say, small business owners? I mean, I use the term
Yeah.
small, maybe not in the right place here, but like not multi-billion dollar business owners. You're being very strategic about the whole experience. So I'm also kind of curious if like when you're looking back on that whole experience, is there anything that you would do different or that you regret, even with all that knowledge, stepping into the process? I'm quite curious to hear where that, if I do it again, I'll probably don't do this or will do that or would change this. Love to hear a little bit about that, which could be a cautionary tale for some of our listeners too.
Yeah, fortunately, we did a lot good, and not because we're geniuses like timing, and we just the acquirers were really knowledgeable. They were acquiring a bunch of businesses. I think one of the things we would have done is probably start at a different time, like earlier in the year, because multiples are kind of look based on the trailing 12 months. So the previous 12 months, sorry, valuation is. And so I underestimated, even though we went fast, I underestimated how long it was going to take to really find a broker and get onboarded there. And so if we
Yeah.
would have, so by the time we closed, it was kind of like the end of summer going into Q4. And I think it would have been better if we would have closed earlier in the year, because summers are slow.
Mm,
And so that dropped the numbers are just lower in the summer. And then it was kind of a sprint to get to Black Friday. So
mm.
even though we were like, oh, great, it's closed now, we're like, oh, just kidding. We got like all hands on deck to help them like relocate the inventory and get listed for Black Friday. And so it was kind of a hustle.
Yeah.
Even though we were doing it part-time, we wanted the brand to still succeed, and the people who are now running it to succeed. And I think that put unnecessary stress on the transaction just because it happened so close to Black Friday.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a lot of things to think about, even like, just the whole timing after closing the deal and then, like thinking of your business cycles and stuff like that. I've been interviewing quite a few business owners about the exiting process, and you are the first one that is actually mentioning, the timing of going to market, the timing of selling, and taking into consideration the seasonality of the business model that you are in as well, which is really, really interesting to see. And I mean, so typically, I think also to e-commerce where you guys were based in as well. So love for you
Mhm.
to kind of share that because I think we've never talked about that particularly in the show. So that's pretty cool. Thank you. Now, just to kind of, because I've kind of before we started with the show, I was like about 25 minutes past the hour. I'm kind of
Uh-huh.
like going to start wrapping up the show. 30 minutes fly by so quickly. And where's Tarsha?
She's with the baby.
Oh,
The
so cute.
the baby was the baby woke up. So now we have three guests on the show.
I love it. She's
Yes.
all like, I want to be a part of this.
Uh-huh.
Well,
This is a part
I'm
of having a family business though. And what we are very passionate about when we work with people is that your business is very important. Your business is your baby, but family always comes first. And so when we work with other founders, we always try to find a balance between their professional and their personal and making sure both are healthy, if one is off, we know the other is going to be off as well. If your personal is off, business is going to be sucking for a while. So she's here with us today. We didn't have a babysitter, but we, had to keep trucking along and making sure that we showed up. And that's what you have to do, in
she's
business.
oh,
You show up.
she's bringing gorgeous, valuable content to the show as well. Love it. I was just saying to Gamal that, kind of like ready to kind of wrap up the show as well. So I was like, where's Natasha? I haven't seen her. Is there anything that you would like to add? We talked quite a bit about strategy, timing, maybe things that Gamal wanted to do differently if he would do it again, things that he learned from this whole experience. How are you looking back on this exiting story and this exiting journey you've been on? Because you dove into this business when it was already existing. He
Yeah.
had that vision of built to sell, It comes back along when, the first baby comes along and that whole story of exiting comes to the table as well. How are you looking back at this whole journey and the life afterwards too?
Yeah, we've started a second business together. So as you can see, we do enjoy working with each other. It's not easy. And for anybody out there that's listening that does work with a partner or is thinking about working with a partner, you definitely do have to set up some boundaries with each other. And there has to be mutual respect and um, adoration for what the other person offers and, contributes to the business and to the partnership. And so I think it's capable of happening for anybody that's thinking about doing it. I think you guys just have to set specific ground rules of what each person does so you're not stepping on toes. And when you show up in meetings, okay, this person's going to lead this area, that person's going to lead that area. I think that worked very well for us. And just being very vocal and upfront about how we're feeling, how we can work on things, making things better. I think I was telling you before we started the show that we worked in the same office, so we work from home,
Yeah,
and we shared the same office. But then we realized, I'm tired of seeing you. I don't want to see you so much. We're together all the time. It's crazy because you love your partner so much. You want to be with them all the time. We're best friends, so when we're not together, we miss each other. But there needs to be some space that's healthy. You guys have both different interests in life and things like that. I think that's what makes our team very strong between the two of us. Um, and in terms of the exit and the sale, I think it was the best decision that we could have ever done for ourselves and our family. And just to build that generational wealth for our daughters. That's priceless. You can't beat that. So yeah, I think we are very excited about what we're working on now and what's to come in the future. And so just, stay tuned. We'll keep in contact. You'll know what's happening.
definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything you wanted to add, Gamal, as well?
Yeah, just what we were talking about before we started recording, just as an entrepreneur now for over a decade, with six different companies that are cash flow positive, the 6 or 7 figure businesses, two 7 figure businesses, the rest six figures. Um, it's weird because you never really feel safe. You're always moving to the next number. So you're just an average of what your low is. So one day it's 10K and then it's 20K and it's 50K, whatever your number is, there's always something as the business grows. And when you have a liquidity event with you, that's like 80% of the money you'll ever make from a business is the day you sell it. And having that kind of liquidity event just makes things seem a lot more comfortable. You relieve the stress from always hustling and bustling, and you're like, man, I'm good for a little bit now. I've never felt like this. And so we would love to have entrepreneurs, business owners, whatever, be able to go through this experience and navigate this experience to be able to experience what we did so that we can put aside some for our family, so that we could really just live the life on our own terms without having to worry. And so I believe only 1 in 5 people who attempt to sell actually do. So we're very blessed, and we're very blessed to having gone through that successfully. And just so we love shows like yours and the work that you're doing, and the stuff that we're trying to do now with our coaching and advisory program, to just help more business owners and specifically families or individuals who would like to change their family's trajectory through entrepreneurship and through exiting. We just love the work that we do because we know how life changing it's been for us.
I love that. And I think that's just a beautiful way to kind of like wrap up this show as well, because it brings us back to where we started this whole conversation and why you wanted to exit, which was like putting family first. And I love how you not only done it and lived it, but are also like kind of bringing this vision to life in the new business that you're building, where you're working with families, co-founder families, and like entrepreneurs who really share that family vision, just like you are exempling this lifestyle for them as well. And it's so valuable and so unique as well. So I'm wishing you all the success and all the glory and all the impact that you are hoping for and dreaming for, because it's such a beautiful mission that you're working on as well.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Lynn.
very
Thank
much.
you for having us.
Thank you for being on the show. And that's kind of like a wrap up for today. I feel like we could talk for many more hours, but it's a wrap definitely for this week's episode of the Master Your Exit live show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you also, Natasha and Gamal and little baby girl as well, to be here with us today. I hope you, as a listener or a watcher in our audience, that you're leaving with some valuable insights to help you prepare for your big exit. And remember, you can catch the replay of this episode and all of the other episodes on our website, thebigexit.co/master your exit shows, or listen to the audio version on your favorite podcast platform. Now, I also love to hear from you. You can send in your exit related questions for next week's show as well by heading over to the website or by basically signing up there on our website and sending us your exit related questions so we can answer them on a future episode. We'll be back next Tuesday at 7 a.m. in Los Angeles, 10 a.m. in New York, or 3 p.m. in London time, with more tips and expert interviews and tools to help you master your exit. Until then, keep building, keep preparing, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.